Hi friends, it's Lori and welcome to my garden and to my patio. So this morning I'm sitting outside. I've been enjoying my iced tea. I'm an iced tea drinker year round. It's my go-to. But I wanted to share with you a topic that I think we all struggle with in some capacity, unless you live kind of in the middle of nowhere with lots of privacy. Yes, today I want to talk to you a little bit about adding privacy to your garden. So I had a dear friend who sent me an urgent text message this weekend. Her neighbors, she lives in a neighborhood, and her neighbor's backyard was just kind of empty and they really didn't use it a lot. Well, they installed this huge, beautiful gazebo and they are, of course, enjoying it. But it's reduced her privacy in her backyard. It's also made her dog go a little nuts in the house because he can see and hear them. And she was like, what do I plant urgently? What can I plant today that's going to grow really fast? I live out in a farm town and my home is sandwiched between two kind of main streets that run through our town. And so the lots were built really narrow. When they developed the area, they kind of sandwiched the houses up the main street area. And so our property goes way back, but I'm sandwiched next to two other homes. So when we moved in, we tried to think about where we needed privacy, how high did that privacy need to be, what was going to give us a beautiful patio living space, give us a gorgeous garden, but I didn't want to close it completely in. So I've really tried to think about the plants that I've added, and I continue to add things that are going to add vertical interest as well as maybe some privacy. So I gave my friend a few recommendations. I'm going to go out and look at her space this week. She's also got a landscaper that's going to come out and help her with some plant selection and to get some prices. But, there's tons and tons of options, and there's actually really affordable options on the market. But there's a couple things you need to consider when you're thinking about your landscape plants. I think two things would be, do you have water? Because in order for those plants, especially trees, to thrive and grow, you do need a source of water, especially in the first year. You're going to want to have them on a slow drip, set up a drip line, a soaker system, and keep them watered. So I definitely would make sure you have the infrastructure. The second thing is you do need to consider the size. Are the plants going to outgrow the space? You may be like, oh yeah, a 4x8 tree is going to be perfect. But if you really measure that out, is it going to work in your space? I've known lots of people that plant things and then, 5 to 10 years later, they're having to take them out because they're encroaching on a sidewalk or the side of their house. So you want to think about those things. There are so many narrow privacy options that you can get. So it triggered me to think about my own garden. And I thought what I'd do today is just walk you through some of the ways we've added privacy in our space, some ways that we've added vertical interest and winter interest. So I think those three things are really important to make your garden, your landscape area feel really natural and feel really homey. So I thought we would just walk the garden today. I'm just going to tell you about a few options that work for me in my zone. And I hope they give you some ideas if you are considering adding some vertical interest, winter interest, or if you're dealing with privacy issues. So I'm going to grab my iced tea and let's just go take a walk in the garden and I'll show you some beautiful plants that really work in my space. So I thought we'd get started here on my driveway. So there's our driveway. It is shared with my neighbor. And as you come up the driveway, there's the back of our house. We added our patio. So our patio space is just tucked back behind these arborvitaes. So when we moved in, we knew that we were going to have this patio space, and therefore we knew we wanted to plant the arborvitaes. It just kind of makes that patio space tucked in. It's private from when you drive up the garden. And of course, arborvitaes are a fantastic option. These are so I'm going to put the name of these arborvitaes on the screen for you because I always get it mixed up. But these are the ones that stay more columnar. They planted them so that they will just touch at full size. So they are getting there. And I think they get about 10 to 15 feet tall, but they will touch. So we did have these planted by a landscape company, which was an expense that we incurred when we designed the property. We knew this was a really important space. So arborvitaes are an amazing option. They do need fertilizer. They do need water though. I think they're big water drinkers, and that's why mine have done so well and look so, so healthy. We love these trees and really love that they're here. We also use totem pole grasses. So we do have a support pole that's part of our city. We need to get it painted again. But in order to just kind of reduce the impact of that pole and to again provide some privacy to the patio, these are totem poles. Now, they are huge. They probably need to be divided. There's just two. But what we have to do is we do have to hedge trim them during this season because they flop onto the driveway. But to me, it's worth it. I could replace it with maybe an evergreen or even like a skip laurel. So we may do that at some point. But I love the texture of the grass. It is a little bit of a pain. So when you plant a grass, you need to think about the size and if it's going to flop and if you're going to have to trim it up. So that's what we have to do with these. The totem pole or any type of panicum grass can be a great option. So then a lower hedge that really adds some vertical interest as well can be a shrub. So this is actually a spirea. It is a spirea that gets really tall, as you can tell, and it's almost like a bridal spirea. It gets these long branches, and I love this fall interest. This is where there were bloom heads. So this is two plants. I probably over time we'll have to keep it trimmed back a little bit from the arborvitaes, but I love that this is adding a second layer. So it's kind of that second layer. We've got the arbs, and then we have two different types of spireas. I will have to try to look up the name for this one. I found it, I think, at a big box store, and when I saw that it got so tall, I thought it was a perfect option for this space. Okay, next as you come up the driveway, that's another option, are Roses Sharon. And there are off-brand varieties, and then there's the Proven Winners variety, which is supposed to be seedless, meaning if it drops seeds, they are not supposed to germinate. This is the Blue Chiffon. She hasn't opened up yet this morning, but you can see, well, there's one, all these beautiful blooms. So I have a couple rows of Sharons. And again, during the growing season, it just provides beautiful structure and height and privacy again to the garden. Now you can see below, I do have some little baby, these are all little baby ones. Now they will die back. I just need to get my little weed hoe and come in and they will pull right up. But if that bothers you, then you would want to think about that. I do keep this one a little bit limbed up. She needs to be cleaned up, and I also need to trim her, but you can see how large and beautiful they get. So that's another fantastic option. Okay, let's keep walking up the driveway. So this is a new Rose of Sharon that I just recently got. I think this is the purple one. Now, this one I planted here at the driveway, but I am going to actually move her. I think she needs to be in a space where she can get larger. So we're going to be moving her this fall. But I love this color on this one. So these look a lot like a hibiscus flower plant, shrub, but they grow more in tree form. And I think this one has a beautiful shape. She's a little more narrow and tall. And I think a great option for that, a little bit of privacy during the growing season. So here's another Rose of Sharon that we have. This is the white chiffon. And so you can see right here at the entrance to my garden, it just provides a little bit of privacy to the house behind it. Now, again, this is not going to be in winter. So in winter, it's wide open, but that's okay. During the growing season, I love that it just provides, it's a little hidden view and provides a little bit of that structure. Now, beside it, we have this gorgeous Carolina cypress. And it is like my all-time favorite tree. It is a icy blue, and of course it's evergreen. And it's a huge one. We knew we had space for one really big tree, and we wanted this blue color. So she's kind of a statement in the garden. So structures can also provide some privacy in your garden. So I have an arbor here, but I have some trellises that I'll show you that also add some privacy. So if you have a skinny space where you're just wanting to tuck something in for winter interest, or again, even for privacy or to hide things, they do make some real skinny evergreen trees. So there are two types of junipers. One is a Taylor and one is a Sawyer. And I'll put on the screen both of those for you. They are smaller size junipers. And I love these. They are kind of like an Italian cypress. They have doubled in size since we got them. And they are super soft. If they start to get crunchy, you know that they're drying. They do need some good water, especially during the heat of the summer, but really soft and beautiful. They get a little bit of the little berries on them. You can see this guy, he has struggled more. I don't know if it's something in this soil. I have been giving him some extra water. So I think in the heat, definitely got a little bit more stressed out. So you do just need to monitor your water anytime you plant evergreens for the first couple years. Now, of course, trees are an incredible option. And we also added this magnolia tree. So this is a Mary Jane magnolia, or a Jane. Stays smaller than the kind of old-fashioned magnolias. This is the magnolia that has the pink blooms. It's not the traditional white magnolia. So it is the Jane series. And super beautiful, great structure. And we've already had the arborists come out and kind of limb it up. And they've told us to kind of keep it limbed up so it will continue to grow taller. So we'd like for this one to get, I think it can get 10 to 15 feet tall, and then we'll monitor the branches. So it should, it can grow a little bit wider on that side and a little bit wider on this side, but we're not going to let it get, humongous. Also, we get a lot of wind up here. We're on a hill. We get some snow, ice, lots of rain, and we want this tree to stay really healthy. So we will monitor its kind of size. So from back here, there you can see our large tree. So when we purchased our property, there was nothing here, not a single tree. So we had to add quite a bit, and we continue to add over the years. So that tree is definitely a staple in the garden when everything else dies back. Now, some other plants that work great that are lower, this is a sunshine ligustrum. The color's amazing, but it also can get really tall. You can also manage the height. I think for these two, I am going to let them get tall. But you can keep them smaller. You can trim them into topiaries. You can do a lot of things with them. And they're a great, great option. So as we come back here, here's again the other side of my tree. And then I wanted to tell you about another shrub that I love, and that is a 9-bark. So this is one of the 9-barks. I think this one's from Proven Winners, and she gets huge. And I know the sun and the color, I trim on her. I keep her kind of shaped up. I do need to trim some back limbs. She is amazing in cut flower arrangements. Look at this foliage. And all these the colors, isn't that just gorgeous for fall? Spring blooms, and then just all these little seed heads are coming out. And of course, can get really tall, wide, kind of plant it somewhere where you can just let it go. It's kind of like a woody shrub. So you can kind of see, I know the birds love to come in here. I just love the color, that dark foliage. Of course, planting it next to the blue really makes it pop, but 9-barks are a fantastic option. So when I walk out of my cut flower space, you can see how that's providing some privacy. I really wish I had done an entire hedge of those. I think that would have been really gorgeous. We do have some small arborvitaes here, And over time, they're going to grow. They are newer and they get sun, not all day sun. The two in the back, these guys were babies. These were ones that you get at Christmas for decoration. And I stuck them out here, and they are going to be two big fat twins in no time. I think by next year, they'll probably, reach maybe close to 6 feet. So they are filling in really, really nicely. And then these two are a little younger. I think they're only maybe 2 years old, but they were truly in like a quart-sized container. The 9-bar grew very fast. So this started in a gallon container, and within 2 years, it was a large, large shrub. So a 9-bar is a fantastic option. So for winter interest, as well as seasonal interest, as well as a little bit of privacy, especially if you have a smaller garden like I do, is adding a trellis. And with a trellis, the plant during the season is going to go crazy. This is the major wheeler. Hummingbirds love it. In the winter, though, it's beautiful. It's got all the branches, the foliage dies back, but I've also got the structure and the vines, which give a lot of winter interest. But now, during the growing season, it does provide privacy. So I don't see my neighbor's tree behind. And with my hydrangea and the Rose of Sharon and all the other structures, this whole border is very private. Cars can come up the driveway and I don't even know, who it is or what it is. So having a trellis can be just a fantastic option in your garden space for a little bit of privacy, but definitely winter interest. Let me show you another one that I have. So over here in this corner, I added this trellis. This one has I think it's like Calypso. It's some kind of fun name, honeysuckle trumpet. Isn't that beautiful? And it smells amazing. I think this is probably one of the last blooms, but she's gone a little wild. I need to get in here and trim her up. But again, just a nice structure, a nice trellis here, and of course, seasonal interest. And it does provide a little bit of some privacy. Now, we also have planted some additional arborvitaes, and these are the ones that get very large. So this is the softer arborvitae. It kind of looks like a Leland cypress, but it is in the arb family. I'll put the names on the screen. So this one is going to get very large, and that's okay. We wanted it to just fill this space. Eventually, we'll have to pull the grass back a little bit, but really wanted 2 large structures. Now, if you have a skinny garden like me and a skinny space, I think I've talked about these before, but this is an arb that stays really small and skinny. So there is a sting arborvitae, and there's also a thin man. And this is the thin man. So it is a little fatter at the bottom, and then you can see it coming up. It's got these little kind of yellow berries. Now, I do see this one's getting an arm off the side, and I may come in and cut that out because I don't want that. That's kind of unusual. It typically is growing straight up and skinny. So I think it's a great option. It will continue to get 10 to 15 feet tall, and it's just going to provide that nice kind of evergreen structure. I think it'll be really beautiful. Over here is where I just recently in a video added the sting arborvitae, which is going to get, again, about 10 to 15 feet tall. It's going to stay no greater than 2 feet wide. So I've just got it here to kind of hide our water pump, and it will continue to grow up, but it will also provide privacy, and it will provide that height that I really needed in this border area. I didn't have a lot of things, and right now it's a big hot mess, but I didn't have a lot of things with height. And so I'm trying to go in and add some things for that vertical interest. And probably the last thing that I would recommend if you were considering layering some items for privacy and for winter interest, the final thing that I would suggest would be hydrangeas. Now, hydrangeas, of course, bloom and are gorgeous during this season. They come up in spring and then they bloom, and they're gorgeous. You can leave the blooms on through the winter. They will lose their leaves, but they provide that winter interest. But They provide so much privacy and beauty. When these are here and we're sitting on our patio, no one can see us from the driveway. So really gorgeous. I did have a hydrangea back behind in this hole that I had to move out, but there'll be a new one coming very soon. But hydrangeas can be a great layering option. So this spot in the garden is a great example of adding privacy, winter interest, vertical interest in the garden. So it's really a layered space. I started with those tall arborvitaes. Then we've got a layer down, which is the spirea, the rose of Sharon, and then we've got the gorgeous hydrangeas. And so if I come around, you can see all those beautiful layers in one space. So I hope this gave you some ideas if you're considering adding some winter interest, vertical interest. If you're really looking to add some privacy, I would absolutely consider evergreens, whether it's a really skinny one, a medium size, or you need a huge one. Really investing in a couple evergreens and then layering and planting around them can just give a beautiful look and effect. You do want to consider airflow and making sure that you've got enough space for the plants to grow. So I think my absolute favorites would be any type of arborvitae. There are so many options. After that, I love the 9-bark. Spireas are incredible, no maintenance plants. I just can't say enough things about them. And then probably next would be adding things like tall hydrangeas and trellises with beautiful things growing on them. So I think all of those combinations help to give you those three things that I think we all want in our garden: that vertical natural look, as well as winter interest with the evergreens, and that privacy that we seek in our patio spaces and out in our garden areas. If you're fortunate enough to live with a big private backyard, I am so jealous. I had one of those one time long ago. But it's fun to live in a city area where you can walk and where you can say hi to your neighbors and enjoy the benefits of that. But you also often want to add some privacy. So thanks so much for watching, and let me know in the comments if there's other plants that you love in your growing zone that really work for you, covering these three, sometimes garden issues. All right, I'll see you in the next video. Bye, everybody.